Hello, my name's Val Billings. I'm a Domestic Abuse Coordinator for the Southend, Essex and Thurrock Domestic Abuse Board. The board is made up of different agencies and organisations working together with a vision to work together to enable everyone to live a life free from domestic abuse. All our work is driven by our latest strategy 2020-2025, which can be found on our website. When we say domestic abuse to people, many people think just of physical, but domestic abuse comes in many forms of behaviour: physical, emotional, psychological, sexual and economic abuse. Today we're going to focus on economic abuse. All the work we do within our strategy goes across children, victims, perpetrators and holistically with working with families. The work that our board and our strategy delivers aims to lead a consistent and coordinated approach to raising awareness around domestic abuse and signposting to specific services to meet people's needs. I'd like to introduce you to Lucy Whitaker from Vesta, who is delivering some training and work around domestic abuse and specifically at this time around economic abuse.
Hello, my name's Lucy Whitaker and I'm the founding director and lead trainer of Vesta. We are all about embedding culture and building understanding around domestic abuse in the workplace. And today we're going to talk about economic abuse. Now, economic abuse is designed at its core to limit someone's freedom. This type of abuse can create economic instability and perhaps make one partner or family member completely dependent on another. This creates barriers and prevents someone from leaving that relationship and rebuilding their lives. Now, economic abuse sits very much within the context of what we call coercive control. Now, not all domestic abuse is about coercive control. Some incidents of domestic abuse are about underlying vulnerability, needs and barriers that occasionally spiral into some form of emotional abuse or physical violence, but they aren't categorised by coercive control. But to understand economic abuse, we need to understand coercive control. Now, coercive control is maintained through two very distinct behaviours: controlling behaviour and coercive behaviour, but they're both very, very important. In order to achieve coercive power over someone else, we have to first create a vulnerability. Now, this is done very cleverly through various different tactics of psychological abuse and gaslighting, where an abuser will slowly isolate their victim, make them think they're going mad, confuse them, question their own beliefs and thoughts, and start to monitor where they're going, who they're seeing, perhaps under the guise of the fact they love them so much and care about them so much they can't bear to be without them. They may sulk if the victim doesn't answer their call or get the victim to feel sorry for them. Remember, at this point, we haven't even begun with coercive behaviour. We're using controlling behaviour to create a vulnerability. This vulnerability manifests as exhaustion, dependency on the person actually abusing them, as well as guilt if they act in a different way to what the perpetrator wants. Sometimes an abuser may appear very protective or caring, which creates even more confusion. Once this vulnerability and confusion is achieved, we steam in with what we call coercive behaviour, where we really start to frighten the victim if they go against their abuser's beliefs and demands. Coercive behaviour involves threats as well as actions: threats to leave, threats to harm somebody that they love. But by the time this is happening, a victim will often agree to anything in order to placate the perpetrator. They may well feel trapped in that relationship through guilt. So when we consider something like economic abuse, it's occurring as part of a process and in the context of coercive control. So how might somebody be economically abused within the context of coercive control? Now, any successful perpetrator of coercive control or economic abuse will begin with monitoring. And this is what we call stage one. They can't even begin on the pathway of control without knowing what they're dealing with first. So a perpetrator will monitor how their victim accesses their money, take lots of interest in that. They need to know what their PIN number and passwords are, as well as details of any investments. Phones are often monitored. Our perpetrator wants to monitor where our victim is going, what they're doing and what they're spending their money on. What our perpetrator then starts to do is crank this up a notch in stage two, which is interference. They may offer better ways of managing money, including themselves in that, of course. Make lots of suggestions on what the victim could buy or shouldn't buy. Start to get the victim to change what they buy, how they travel, what they wear, what they perhaps spend on clothes for themselves or their children. They may begin to interfere with the victim's job, getting them to take days off work, challenge things they don't like, stir up trouble with their colleagues. What we subtly then creep in through the back door with, though, is stage 3, sabotage. Now, I've seen a lot of cases of sabotage during my years working as a frontline domestic abuse caseworker, where we would have perpetrators perhaps calling the victim's boss, saying they're concerned about their erratic behaviour, sowing a seed about their unstable mental health. I had a victim once whose partner sold her car, meaning she had to get 3 different buses to work. Perpetrators may hide the victim's purse, cut up their cards, change their PIN numbers, lock doors, create injury so they can't go out or work, build up debt in their name, affecting their credit rating, refuse or forget to pay bills or their mortgage, stealing, fraud. They may cause damage or burn or destroy paperwork, as well as hide money from the victim. A victim often has no idea that loans and credit cards are building up in their name because our perpetrator will often be hiding the post. By stage 4, control, our perpetrator is slowly taking over our victim's life and they have no idea. Even if they start to become concerned, they also start to see all of the barriers that have sprouted up around them, preventing them doing anything about it. Our perpetrator may have limited the victim's working hours. They may be controlling the income stream completely, controlling all the spending, leaving a victim to justify every penny they spend. An abuser may check receipts, bank statements, may need to take control of their pay as it's now going into an account that even the victim doesn't have the password for, as well as their savings. We often then reach a point where a perpetrator of economic abuse reaches stage 5, where they are totally dictating their partner or family members' choices and controlling their everyday actions. They'll become violent, sulk, threaten to become violent if their demands are refused. Devices may also be monitored by the abuser, making it virtually impossible for the victim to reach out without being found out. By the time we enter stage 6, exploitation, our victim has been violated in so many different ways and exploited in so many different other ways through threats, theft, fraud, debt. They're scared, they're exhausted, they're trapped. They often have no ability to purchase even very basic things to manage their own basic needs in a pattern of total dependency, where they'll either be forced to work more or not able to work at all and thrust into a life of poverty. So how do we recognise the signs and safely reach out? We ask you to commit to understanding more about coercive control and economic abuse. We at Alpha Vesta are running fully funded training across the county at the moment in both of these areas, where you can learn skills around building a trusting and non-judgmental relationship with someone that you might be concerned about, as well as build an important chronology of what you are seeing and hearing. You can then contact services such as Compass to reach out to experts in order to support the person in breaking free of the abuse that they may be experiencing. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Lucy. If you'd like to know more about our local domestic abuse support services, like Compass, our front door domestic specialist support for victims, please visit our website, SETDAB.org. Also, we'd like to take this opportunity to invite you to our events next week. We are delivering each day a 1-hour live session covering our 5 key outcomes that are cited in our strategy to give you an in-depth of the work that is being delivered under each of them. Details for signing up for these events can be found on our website, alongside how to sign up for our domestic abuse newsletter, which will keep you informed of all the developments that are taking place across Southend, Essex and Thurrock. We look forward to you joining us next week. Thank you.